their biggest concern right now is security.
Yeah.
They are literally living in fear of their door being smashed down. Those that have even got a door, and being raped, being killed. And that's real. That's exactly what's going on right now. They're not even thinking about food and water. They're just thinking about staying alive and staying safe, and not knowing if anyone is going to even come and save them.
So welcome to another episode of the Chunter Basha. This is the Bond Across the Pond series of the show. Billy and Julie are in the UK, and I'm back here in the States. So we have to do this over Zoom, but I'm excited to talk to you guys. Good to see you guys.
Well, this is a true bond across the pond. This is a true bond across the pond because we are across the pond right now. So it couldn't be more appropriate, right?
And we're bonding. So I wanted to talk to you guys about, I know there's a very big current situation going on that's very important to you guys with the situation in Haiti. I saw you guys post on social media the sad news about having to shut down your Rebuild Globally charity school, as well as your factory, Deux Mains. So I wanted to have you guys talk a little bit about what the situation is, why it's so near and dear to your hearts, to bring a little more awareness to it for people that aren't quite in tune with the news and everything going on down there.
Well, let Jules talk. She's obviously in daily communications with the people of Haiti and also with her team in the States. So she's best to give you the updates on that. So on to you.
Okay. Well, we are definitely, very concerned about what's happening in Haiti as it's basically shut down. So from our point of view, our charity, our kids aren't able to go to school. And from a business perspective, our colleagues in Haiti aren't able to work. And so, as you can imagine, the economic pause is crippling to a country that's already so weakened. So we're just, really concerned about what the next steps are going to be and how we can continue to support and to confidently move forward, because we're committed to Haiti. We've been there for 15 years now. We know there's people that have been there even longer, or we have Haitian family and friends that are committed to the security and stability of Haiti. And we're just like everybody else, kind of holding our breath and waiting to see what's going to happen over the next few days as the Prime Minister Ariel Henry has just resigned. We're just holding our breath to see what does that mean. Another void in leadership, even though he wasn't an elected official, what will happen?
But in terms of, like you're asking them, the current situation, as we know as ground truth at the minute, just through, voices of people out there who are still out there and people who are very close to it as well. It was described to me recently as very much like the situation of Somalia, out of control, run by gangs. Now, for the first time, which we'd never seen in the whole 15 years, there's always been unrest to a degree, mainly through corruption through the government, unfortunately. Also through natural unrest, but now they're sort of what they call rioting and protesting. It's just people protesting, using their voice, which is best they know how, which would be people blocking streets. The worst you'd ever see is people throw stones or a little bit of hand-to-hand fighting with each other, setting fire to tires. But now it's gone to an all new level. And when in terms of the comparison to Somalia, there's been a massive, massive influx of weapons, AK-47s mainly. Where they've come from, no one seems to know. I mean, we can all guess, and it's a country not too far away. But all of a sudden, these have come in, they've been spread around all the groups to create this unrest. The question I would say is, and I don't have the answer to, which I have most of because of conflicts I've been in before, I've seen these situations, is why? How it's been allowed, who's brought the weapons in, for what reason. What staggers me, and I can't get my head around, is the US having one of their biggest embassies out there, and there are supposedly, again, how much the truth from media we'll never know, there's been hostages taken, American hostages, including women and children, which I know for a fact, in any country I've ever served, so our brothers in arms, the Americans, they don't stand for that nonsense. And to not see a sort of implementation force going in and dealing with that, to at least create a safe haven and barrier around the US Embassy and the US sort of citizens that are out there doing a great job, it just doesn't make sense to me. I don't get it. And, I've recently heard that the Americans have evacuated under darkness. That's not the American way. They're certainly not scared of Haiti, or, they ballsy sort of extractions out of places like Afghanistan and Iraq. They don't do under the cover of darkness. So why in Haiti, and why they've kind of turned a blind eye to what is going on? These are the questions I just don't know. It doesn't make sense to me. And why there's not been some sort of implementation force going in, either the UN going back in, or a military style force just to create calm and stop the suffering of the innocent people.
Oh, and can I say, I think
sure.
with the suffering of innocent people, I think the reason that people are hurting so badly right now is what you have to understand is that Haiti doesn't have their own army. So there's no army to protect the country from gangs and corrupt people. But also the police force has been so annihilated, and the police forces themselves are being attacked. The police stations are being burned to the ground. So there's just not enough. And which is why when Billy's talking about an intervention, why it is so essential that someone go in and help, because there isn't the stability in the country for them to fight. Right now, the gangs are so powerful. The last statistics we heard was that they've taken over 80% of the capital. 80% of the capital is controlled by gangs.
And all the gangs have, from what I've heard, made alliances with each other to outnumber the police force. Is that correct too?
Yeah, the police force and security force have become the common enemy to all. Although they're fighting each other, they've all amalgamated to destroy the police force and any sense of, law and order, which doesn't make any sense. It's almost like the film Escape from New York. It's just total chaos and everybody fights for survival. The only time they'll seem to come together and have any agreement is to overthrow the government, stroke the security forces, which is just the police, because there's no military force there, which, again, it just doesn't make a lot of sense. I'm only saying from what I know and what I feel. Somebody might say, well, these are the reasons. I don't understand those. I don't know those reasons. Having been in a lot of conflicts throughout my life, I tend to get a good reading of why and how things are happening. I just don't get.
Sorry to cut you off, and before we get into like a little bit more detail on why Haiti is so meaningful to you guys, this whole issue with the gangs taking over control started how long ago? Would you say a year, or when is this whole movement started?
The president was assassinated almost 3 years ago now. And so since the presidential assassination, there's been a void in leadership. And with that, the gangs, were easily rose to power. I mean, gangs have always been a part of Haiti, like all countries. They've just become definitely more powerful over the last 3 years.
But the big turn or shift in the gangs' method of operation, I think, has come in the last probably 12 months with these weapons coming in. There's gangs, Cité Soleil's there's been programs about documentaries about Cité Soleil, the gang warfare in a poverty area. You get that in every poverty area. That's been highlighted in the years gone by because there's been one or two weapons floating about. It's normally machetes or knives or something but now every single gang, you've got kids from the age of 11 onwards carrying an AK-47. How did those weapons get into the country? Who brought them into the country and why they're being handed out to all gangs? So they're all killing each other with these AK-47s, which they have no fucking understanding of the damage and how to actually use them properly. That's the craziness of it all. These weapons are totally criminal. And what surprises me is, these kids are just firing off rounds all over the place. To my knowledge, and I might be wrong, I've not heard of anybody attacking the American embassy. Why is that? I don't know. So it's just a bit weird.
I know that surprises you, but does the whole issue, I mean, once it started, Does it really surprise you that it has escalated to this level? Like, did you expect that if there wasn't serious outside intervention, what else would have stopped it? I mean, didn't you think it was going to get worse and worse if nothing had been done?
I never expected to go to the situation where it is, where they'd all be armed on the streets.
Well, and also what's happened at the airport is unprecedented. Shooting at a commercial airliner and then closing down an international airport is, I mean, it's unprecedented that gangs have been able to do. So I don't think anybody probably could have.
Nobody's not at this speed anyway.
Yeah.
The speed that it has, the government, the president was overthrown or killed, assassinated 2 years ago now, I think it was 3 years ago. Okay, so, and that supposedly was by a foreign force that came in to do it, which I still question myself, to be honest. That doesn't ring true to me even now. All right, so they came in, they were armed. Where they got their weapons from, who knows? But that's still a small number. I think about 13 people that were involved in that. Then all of a sudden, having been there in Haiti for as long as we had, I knew most of, not the gangs, but the influential people there, and very few people had weapons. And then all of a sudden, over the last 12 months, all these gangs are armed now with AKs. I mean, so the answer to your question is, did we not ever see it coming to this? Not at the speed that, and for what reason? For what game? At the moment, all they're doing is destroying everything that really they're going to need in the coming future, burning down buildings, hospitals, schools. I mean,
police station.
Who's directing that and why? What?
Who wins in that situation?
Yeah. It's total anarchy. I mean, anywhere else in the world, where people are suffering to that degree, normally led by the Americans or the Brits or a combination of both, a force goes in there to stop the tyrants doing what they're doing, but no one's doing anything.
Well, I know you guys went in there for humanitarian reasons years ago. That's how you got involved. Does right now make you feel a sense of like emotional powerlessness? Because before you could go in and help in a situation like that, even though there were challenges after the earthquake and stuff, but now there's nothing you can really do. So how much does that frustrate you when you see this going on?
Hey, absolutely. I wouldn't say it scares me or us, but it certainly makes me think on a different level than I ever have before. I've never been worried about going to Haiti. You can put up and avoid gangs with the methods they've used in the past. Not right now. I had a good friend of mine and of Jules, actually, an ex-British SAS guy, same as myself, who was a security advisor, head of security for the BBC. And the BBC went to do a bit of ground truth. This was probably 12 months ago. It was over 12 months ago.
Yeah,
this is back then.
No, last November.
And his quote to me, and I said, let's meet up. And he was like, mate, I don't want to meet up. And I thought, why? He goes, the ground on the ground at the moment is outrageous. And we hadn't really been down in the areas that we had previous to a year ago. We were in Haiti at the time, but in just the sort of well-known secure areas. And anyway, so when we did meet up, and he showed me footage of exactly what was going on a year ago, of the killings and the amount of weapons coming in. He says, mate, he'd just been into Ukraine. He said, I felt safer in Ukraine than I do on the streets of Haiti.
Their team had spent 6 weeks in Ukraine, and they pulled out before their 10 days in Haiti because of the security challenges in Haiti.
Wow.
I mean, outrageous to hear.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But I mean, he's a regiment bloke. He's been in all sorts of, he's fearless to a degree, but he said, this is just absolute lawless. And actually, that's where the quote was. He goes, it's turning just like Somalia. Wow. The early days of Mogadishu.
Well,
and that's quite sad.
Yeah. Well, now going back to how you guys got involved, can you give some history to what your tie is to Haiti?
Yeah, I mean, our story begins at exactly the same time. Obviously, the earthquake of 2010. I was in Baghdad in Iraq at the time with a personal security company, and my reason for going there was having all the years spent in the SAS and the regiment and the military. You become an absolute sort of ambassador to hearts and minds and understanding suffering. And I remember the night of the earthquake was one of these news flashes, and I was like, wow, and just felt we've got to do something about it. And my business partner at the time said exactly the same. That was my reason to go, and that was 10 days after the earthquake. And I decided we're going to do something. Our idea was to, after doing some due diligence, making some phone calls, what was needed on the ground, which was quality, everything, but we need buildings. So at the time, we were building camps in Iraq for the American forces. And I got our team to design an hospital because no one had gone buildings. And the guy who gave me the ground truth at that moment, 10 days after the earthquake, or after, sorry, just a few days after the earthquake was, he's performing operations on people, literally amputating legs and arms inside a dirty old tent on with a patient lying on a door. This is because we've got no hospitals and no one will go in buildings. So my idea was to, or our team idea was to build an hospital out of these prefab buildings, get them sent into Haiti. I'll go in with a small team, use local people to get their minds off the situation and get them involved again, build it and walk away. That was my reason. And that was my initial step from leaving Iraq to going into Haiti 10 days after the earthquake.
And little did you know your future wife was prepping to go down and do the same thing. Kindred spirits.
Stalking me through social media, which I didn't realize at the time. I wasn't really on it, but
right.
We don't believe that.
Right. Because I've been stalking him and
nothing's changed.
Yeah. Maybe. Yeah, similar timelines. Trained disaster responder, and I was working in Orlando at the time. And when I heard about the earthquake, I just knew that I had to go and help. I had the training to do so. But what I didn't expect was the I don't even know if it's a vibe or if it's the passion, if it's the resilience, if it's the beauty of the Haitian people, but whatever it was, it took my 2-week trip and turned it into 15 years because nothing could have prepared me for falling in love with the country the way that I did. And just being able to create something with Haitian people, like their willingness to recover from the disaster was something unlike anything I had ever seen. And I had responded to quite a few disasters by that point in my life. And I just knew I wanted to be a part of rebuilding the country. And what I learned in my short time, right after the earthquake was the horrendousness of that 5.7 seconds of terrible shaking was outrageous. But the poverty that the people suffered from even long before the earthquake was like making it impossible for people to move forward. And so that's where this idea of economic development really struck my heart and was like, oh, this is what we have to focus on. So there's many levels to get to economic development. And because of our charity, we realized education and job training was going to be step one, but there's so much more to it. And I learned all of that on the ground in Haiti, and I wanted to be a part of it. And that's why we stayed, so what brought us there originally was this horrendous earthquake, but what kept us there was the strength of the Haitian people. I think, I know I wanted to be a woman like the women I had met there. And I think, probably very similar for you, babe, we were, we were finding that, we could build something together.
Yeah. I think, it was, the situation was dire. People needed to be there. So I decided I wanted to stay there anyway. But the resilience of the people was just something I'd not seen on that level before. People asked me to describe what it was really like. My fellow soldier friends, and I talk about Bosnia, and if anybody knows the situation of Bosnia, that was awful, the amount of people killed, but that was war. This was a natural disaster, and it was like Bosnia on steroids. Every building was down. There was animals dead everywhere. There was people dead everywhere. It was just, but the people that were still alive and kicking and surviving were literally doing that, but just going, you know what? We've got to, the longer we sit in a pity party, the harder this is going to be. And they literally picked themselves up and just got on with it. The pain you could read behind their face for sure. They'd lost kids, they lost family, they lost their house, they lost everything. But it was not sit there and come and save me. They wanted to save themselves.
Yeah.
All they wanted was an opportunity to do that. They didn't want us to give them anything other than an opportunity to stand on their own 2 feet. And that became very apparent from the moment you got there.
Yeah, knowing knowing especially like the story you've told, Julie, is what was kind of the turning point for you. Is some woman said in Creole to you, I don't need your water rice. We need jobs. And it was like a light bulb went off for you. And again, like you guys said, that speaks to the resilience of these people. They're not just waiting for help, because those people come in to help, but then however long later they're gone and they're left with no sustainable solution. It's kind of like, what's that saying? Like, teach a man, or give a man a fish, he survives for a day. Teach a man to fish, he survives for a lifetime.
We used to say what we want to do is blow up the fishing industry. And, it was like this idea in Haiti. There was so little, like, even there was so little fishing to be had because, there was just so many problems. We just thought, blow up the whole industry, create something. And that's why, with Deux Mains and like in everything that we built, we did everything ourselves. Anything what we wanted, we built ourselves. And we realized that was like kind of how we were going to be successful, was to make sure we had whatever we needed, we were going to create ourselves and build that infrastructure for our team and for the community that we were creating.
So how long into, because to clarify, you guys didn't go down there together. You didn't even know each other when you first arrived there. How long into each of your time there did you guys cross paths?
Pretty early. We were both there within 10 days. I came in, she's God knows how she managed to do it, but you flew in, right?
Yeah, I flew in, and I was one of the only planes that landed on the Port-au-Prince like tarmac, because the tarmac was all broken and shattered and shambles. But I was on a plane with medical personnel, and we did land in Port-au-Prince, and I set up a tent right at the airport. Like there was no airport left. It was all mayhem. But there's relief workers were set up, and so I pitched a tent there and stayed with the Scientologists, actually, the volunteer ministers, who were excellent at first disaster response. They called them the yellow shirts in Haiti because they all wore yellow shirts. But they took me in. And so I was about a half a mile away from where he was staying. He was staying at the United Nations logistic camp. And so, our paths would cross, and he was like a typical guy. He would be really weird and like ignore me, and like, you did. He was really
stalking me.
No, he was really strange. Like, he would say hi to everybody in the group and not say hi to me. And it was really bizarre. But then, come to find out, he was totally in love with me.
Billy has no game. He has no game. Yeah, so you got shell shocked.
Yeah, she lands in an aircraft. I was too scared to land in an aircraft, so I actually landed in the DR and had a night getting absolutely hammered, drunk.
You didn't?
As you do.
You didn't parachute in?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, you should have.
Yeah, we tried. But and then drove in through the DR and then over the border and then we were a chunk missing out of this, and we won't go too deep into it, but so I decided to go out there 10 days after to donate this 47 containers, flat pack buildings, and build it into an hospital. Like I said, we sent that by boat to go there. I went in there with a friend of mine plus an engineer that was going to come in a few days later. So we'll go and do it. But prior to that, obviously it was going to become a donation. So we had to find somebody who would take a donation, And we found a British charity called Merlin, who, quite a big charity, said, yeah, we can take it. We'll do it. I met them in London before I even flew to the DR. Yeah, we can do it. We can take all this, big words, big fucking ideas. And then, long story short, so after eventually driving right the way over the country, and it took about 12 to 18 hours to get across the border and into what was absolutely, unbelievable scenes of destruction. Find our way. There was no way. It was difficult to navigate because there was no road signs. All the roads were smashed and all this sort of stuff. But we found by luck or whatever, the location where this group were, Merlin. And we drove through the night. It was pitch black at night. Get there about 9 at night. Find them in this half broken down building where they put a tented city. Sat and spoke with their sort of head shed on the ground, and they had no idea we were coming. So London hadn't told them. It was all a load of nonsense. And so we're now stuck with a donation that was coming in and no one to have it. So then first priority for me and my mate was, right, we've got to find somewhere to live and stay. The first night or so we stayed in what was an old hotel, but in the courtyard of the hotel in a tent. And then eventually I moved into the UN base, and that's when, over that period of being in the UN base, a week or so, Jules and a team were walking around, and we got to know everyone was trying to make friends and do the right thing. And
there were meetings. You used to call them the UN cluster meetings.
And they were called the cluster meetings. We called them the cluster fuck meetings because it was
bleep that out.
It was like a circus meeting. Everybody had great ideas, but nobody was doing nothing. To be honest, that's how it felt, and that's how
it was really hard to navigate the early days because so much had been destroyed, and like communication systems were down. Logistics was an absolute nightmare. So many people died that lived there that, were coordinating on the ground. So it was mayhem, total mayhem.
How long did it take for you to feel momentum in the progress you were making and trying to help out the situation there where you felt like you were hitting a rhythm and you're really making a difference and, creating some stability with the help that you're doing? What's that?
We never did.
Let you know when
we never did, mate. It was just obstacle after obstacle, whether it was people being awkward, just the logistical nightmare of getting things in. Everything was a challenge, and still is today.
And then natural disasters. We had Hurricane Matthew, we had floods, we had fires. I mean, anything that you could imagine that could happened to us, and happens to the people of Haiti over and over and over again. So finding like a natural rhythm, it feels like it's a bit impossible. I remember when I first came back to the United States, they'd want me to go to these CEO roundtables and female entrepreneur roundtables and discuss my challenges. And, you talk to people and I'd be like, oh, why we haven't had electricity in 7 days. And, some of my staff haven't eaten. And, it's like, it's the problems that we would have just couldn't even compare to an American company or an American CEO. So it either sounded like we were lying or we were crazy or, we are going a little bit crazy, I think, to open a business or have a charity in the developing world because there are so many challenges that people in the Western world couldn't even begin to understand what we've undergone.
Well, the fact that what's that?
And continue to go through.
Yeah. Well, and the fact that like right now, not only trying to run a profitable business, being challenged enough, the fact that you had to evacuate all of your employees from your company a couple days ago and with the school.
Yeah. We worked so hard to survive COVID, which we barely did. We barely survived COVID because so many of the boutiques we had worked with, so many of the people selling our products had closed down. We're a small business selling to other small businesses, but we survived that global pandemic. And then this happens and we finally started, getting orders again, like going to trade shows, having all these wholesale orders ready. And as soon as it happens, we have to evacuate our factory and close down for safety and security reasons. We were looking at bullet holes in our roof that we're trying to patch up. It's really hard pill to swallow when all people want is a job. Actually, I wanted to read something. My colleague Michelle, who is our head handbag maker, and he's also a journalist, went to school for journalism, wrote something the other day, and I've been so moved by it. I wanted to share it. He says, the current insecurity in Haiti completely affects the activity of our craft. To weaken an artisan is to weaken an entire family. Port-au-Prince is weakened under the power of these criminals. The middle class is on its knees at the doors of institutions close. Even our schools are not exempt. Even at this moment, as I write this article, it is under the great denotation of heavy weapons. The soundtrack frightens us and weakens our activities. I read his words and I just think to myself, this is something that he undergoes every single second of every day right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And, we sit here and we have our opinions and we do our best to try to support what's happening, but there are very real people that we care about a lot right now that are sitting in the middle of essentially like a civil war, if I may. I don't even know if I can.
Yeah, it is. Living in absolute fear.
You guys ever feel like you're losing hope and question why is God allowing this place to get so punished repeatedly? And, places like America, the UK, obviously we have our problems, but we're so much better off. Like, does it make you lose hope when it just repeatedly things keep happening to kind of knock people down, yeah, the Haitian people still move forward. You guys trying to help them still move forward. How much of a challenge is that? And like just losing hope for the situation.
When you lose hope, it puts a big dent in your hope, and you just go, you kind of, it hits your on, and you think, fuck, let's just give up. But you never give up. You actually come back. Let's find another solution. Let's find another way through this. It makes you, because if you really believe in something like as deep as we do with this, nah, it's gone too far. We've been through hell and high water with all this, before. Now it's different. It's another massive problem. It's different because now it's violence and fucking out of control chaos. And I personally, and I know Jules probably feels the same. Tomorrow's another day. Tomorrow things could change. You live in hope that the US will step in, or the Brits will step in, or some reputable force will step in. I'm pretty sure it'll come at some stage. The day it comes is still a day too late because there's so many people lost their lives unnecessarily. But it will come. I just believe it'll come. But it kind of, it doesn't break down your hope. It dents it. It dents your hope, and you just go, right, you don't sleep at night. We don't. We wake up and think, fucking how are we going to do this? Who can I talk to? Why? There must be something else I should be doing, And I do. I mean, you can't, we're starting to live our own life as well here and deal with our own situations, but you never give up hope. You just go, right, let me think at the right moment. I'll find the right person, the right connection, the right sort of step forward, even if to speak to the guys on the ground and say, do this, do that. We're already looking at doing another little sort of fundraiser as soon as we can to raise some money to just at least give these people something. So, they can't even get out and earn a little bit of money and get any food. So there's always the hope is dented, but we're always trying to find a solution to undent it and find the next way forward. And we'll find it, we'll get there, and then we'll probably get knocked back again, and it continues and continues. And but the flame ain't gonna die. Keep going.
Yeah, and I always like to think about like it's more about the injustice that pisses me off, the deep injustice of what's happening and like the people that are suffering. But like Billy said, we'll always try to find a way, and because these type of conflicts are expensive. So food is more expensive. Finding clean water is harder. It's more expensive. So trying to find ways out here where we're so far away to support the team and the team's families is kind of our mission, and how we'll try to fight and keep our hope alive.
Because you built such a close relationship with all of these people. You love these people. Like it must just feel like it's not an option to give up.
Yeah, no, it ain't an option, mate. It's just so unfair.
Yeah, my business partner, Jolina, one of the first woman I met in Haiti 15 years ago. I made her a promise 15 years ago. I said, if we're going to start something, I promise I won't leave, because that was what we were seeing. Foreigners come in, starting something it's so hard to do and wanting to leave. And you can see, we know why. I mean, if I'm being truthful, quite a few times I wanted to leave too. It's really, really hard. But I promised I would never leave, until somebody or someone makes me leave or I die or something. So we will just keep going and hope that, what's so hard right now is, as a business, we sell product. Can you believe that we've always wanted to sell out of things, right? But we're sold out of things. So I'm a business owner that can't sell anything, and I'm not currently making anything because my craftsmen and women can't go into work. So we're in this predicament where our business can't even operate. And so these are real life business challenges that, I don't know how to solve that problem, until people can safely get into work and we can make something again. But the great thing is that if we've sold out, that means someone's buying. That means somebody cares about what's happening and how things are made and where their products are made, loves Deux Mains, loves, so it's like these really good things that are happening alongside of these really terrible things that are happening. And that's kind of what it's like to love Haiti, I guess.
Well, and also like comparing it to COVID, there's no government aid coming in for shut down businesses. Like there's no PPE like we had back then. Like this is the situation. I mean, I guess you said all you can rely on is the support of people who care about what you're doing and the people and care to help the situation. but there's no automatic
Yeah.
checks coming in the mail from the government, it must be.
Well, as a Haitian, we didn't get PPE either. So what we did is, we ran charity events, it's because the government mandated that like our factory only operate at 30% capacity. But what happened to the other 70%? Who was supposed to pay those paychecks? So, it's like we have been responsible to fill those voids in any way we can. And the only way we've been able to do that is the generosity of others. So people who walk alongside us, who see this injustice as also being, something that we have to fight against. And we fight against it with our purchases. We fight against it with our donations. We fight against it with our mouths, like that's the only way we can really fight. And so we do.
I mean, amongst all the issues they have, which you've just mentioned, not being able to get food, they've got no running water, no electricity. Their biggest concern right now is security.
Yeah.
They are literally living in fear of their door being smashed down, those that have even got a door, and being raped, being killed. And that's real. That's exactly what's going on right now. They're not even thinking about food and water. They're just thinking about staying alive and staying safe and not knowing if anyone is going to even come and save them.
Why are the gangs going after, if they're trying to overthrow the government, why are they going out after just the normal everyday people?
That is my question too.
That's the question we can't answer. It's not just overthrowing the government. They're destroying their own infrastructure. They're destroying everything that they're going to need themselves at some point. It's easy to say, well, these gangs, actually, the people who are doing a lot of those sort of atrocities are very uneducated. They are. But surely they're not that stupid to realize they're going to need water. They're going to need shelter. They're going to need an hospital. I don't know who's guiding them, whether they're being forced to do it through fear. That's the question, Brian. Why is that? Why are they doing what they're doing? For what gain? It's not just taking down the government, because the government's not even there anyway. They've not really had a government. And then all of a sudden, all these gangs seem to amalgamate and come together in an agreement to overthrow the only thing that could possibly save them anyway, which is the police force.
Mm-hmm.
It's bizarre. It's crazy.
But why terrorize civilians is always the question that I never understand. I always know that, ruling by fear is more powerful than, it's one of the most powerful tools that people can use. But the violence against women and children, the violence against all people is horrific. But, specifically women suffer during times of suffering
I mean, from experiences of being in warring places like Bosnia, you see people react really strange. People who are normal people, but then become surrounded by war and conflict and hatred and atrocities, just become sort of engrossed in it and then become sort of brainwashed to being allowed to go and kill and do mad, crazy ass things. And they do. I mean, if you think about it, the gangs running around the streets, killing each other and killing anything that moves, then all of a sudden break into a prison and let out even worse criminals, let out 4,000 absolute fucking lunatics to add to the mix, who eventually will probably turn on them as well. So it just, I don't know, it just doesn't make sense to me. And who's driving this? Someone somewhere has got an agenda for this to go on. And the fact that the outside world is not doing anything about it, just standing there watching it, is just.
What I was going to mention too is what seems to be the trend in a lot of these conflicts is the Ukraine has been going on for 2 years now, and it was the only thing in the news for the first few months. And then I hate to say, people got tired to listen to the same thing. So the awareness of it just kind of dwindles down and people go back to their own lives. Same thing in Israel and Palestine. It's not as much in the news anymore because they get tired of running the same story, but the conflict's not ending. You hope in all of these things in Haiti as well, the awareness can keep going, and it takes effort of people to keep this awareness out for people, just because the more awareness there is, that'll hopefully lead to more assistance and help and aid. But it seems that's just the trend a lot of times with the media, is once people get tired of the story, they don't broadcast it anymore.
Yeah. And I think that, the root of all evil, in my personal opinion, is poverty. And the story of Haiti and poverty is nothing new. But, you know, and also when you talk about like gang recruitment, it's, you know, they're going up to these little kids and it's like either we'll get your mom fresh water and you can join our gang, or you guys won't have any fresh water. I mean, the choices are dire. And again, it's due to poverty. You know, I think that's what gave the gang so much power. I think it's what gives, you know, all this corruption and insecurity so much power is the poverty of the people. And that's why our belief in economic stability is not just for Haiti, it's everywhere. It's a global passion of ours, is to think, you know, to keep the world safe, people need to be able to provide for their basic needs and for their families. And that's the end of the story. I mean, that is, you know, we'll stand on that ground. Fight for that.
To maybe like kind of wrap this up, I think, because we didn't really talk about in detail. I think a lot of people are already aware what your business is, but can you just talk about a little bit about what Deux Mains is and how people can help?
Yeah, absolutely. So we are a leather handbag and sandal company. We export leather goods, small leather goods, woven handbags for the global market. And in Haiti, we make school shoes for school children. So we sell to missionaries and schools and government organizations to try to ensure that all children in Haiti have brand new leather school shoes. And so by buying from Deux Mains, fortunately right now we're very low in all inventory because we can't get our shipments out of the country. But definitely supporting by, you know, thinking about the next time you buy a birthday gift, buying it from a company like Deux Mains, somewhere there things are handmade, somewhere where people are paid a living wage. It's always you know, helpful where fair trade things are made. And then for our school, Rebuild Globally, we're always collecting donations and asking for support to keep our schools safe and our children safe and our tutors, families safe. And Billy does a lot of fundraising. And something that we would love to do is people to join us on a Facebook Live. We're going to be doing an auction for some really cool goods that Billy has from the SAS. And so we're going to be doing a live pretty soon, and we'd just love for people to come on and bid on our auction and help us raise money, support, and then somebody gets to win some pretty cool things.
Nice.
Reservoir.
And also when you guys are able to start producing the goods again, Billy has a travel collection for all the Billy's fans out there.
Yeah, it's a good one. Thanks, Brian.
Yep. So go on the website, buy. It supports us. We need, you know, it's hard to ask. We need money. We need money to support the families of these people who are locked down, can't move. We need money for the schools to try and get some security in there, to pay the security to look after it. And then the next lot of kids coming into school to pay for their education, to buy their uniforms. You know, when you think you live in a world where we've got more billionaires today, and yet we've got kids who can't even go to school or can't even be fed. It's just crazy.
No.
So, yeah, so support us. We're going to do a little live charity thing probably in the next coming days.
Yeah.
Well, we can make an announcement on your YouTube channel too.
Yeah.
And all your social media. I'm sure you will. Well, I love you guys, and I have much respect for what you guys are doing for this issue, and I highly respect your passion for the country. I think it's pretty inspiring.
Oh, thanks. Well, thanks for giving us a chance to talk about it.
Yeah, cheers, Brian. And because we are across the pond, as we keep saying, we'll have to do more through this means, as in on Zoom for the next few months or so. So we'll do more and more.
Well, I'll try to make a trip out there too soon, so we can. You got to build a nice little podcast studio in your house, though.
About
you got to build a Chunter Basha.
Yeah.
We found a new version.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
You have to tell me more about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll send you the videos.
Do I get to sign off on it? Like you have to get my approval for the aesthetics of it, or do I have no say?
You've got to make sure it's got the right ambient lights and the sound is correct and it's visually and as comfortable as you like.
I want my chair to be as comfortable as your chair.
No, that's not on it.
Okay.
I think it's only fair, honey.
I'll just sit on the floor across from you. That's fine.
Correct. You'll sit next to Alfie.
Yeah. Perfect. All right. Love you guys. Good chatting with you.
Thank you.
Take care, mate.
All right. We'll see you.
Cheers, mate.